Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. Today, I'm going through my 9 favorite types of side characters and detailing why they resonate so well. Warning, I'm about to spoil a lot of outdated pop culture, from movies to novels to comics to anime. This includes, in particular, key points and moments from the Lord of the Rings series, the original Star Wars trilogy, Harry Potter, A Song of Ice and Fire, and several others. I'll also be going through a cheer-worthy moment within the Dresden Files. So if you aren't caught up, I think I'm going through about 2 or 3 books back. So if you aren't caught up on there, I'm sorry. For most, if not all, of the marathon, people will be cheering all along the course, whether they have stepped out of their homes to wave or have traveled long distances to encourage friends and family competing. Wielding creative signs meant to inspire or make us laugh, they will add to the overall experience and breathe life into a given race. Don't stop believing, hills suck. I still remember the brother-sister pair that were holding up those 2 signs. And they were right. The hill they were on did in fact suck. It came about 3/4 of the way through the race, and it stretched for about a mile, which was pretty rough. But I will forever remember and smile at that singular moment thanks to that sibling duo. Other supporting people offer drinks, candies, and goodwill in the form of high fives. In honor of those supporters, here are my top 9 favorite types of side characters who make the hero's journey worth reading. They stand out, but let the hero hog all the glory in the end. In some cases, these side characters will evolve and grow into heroes in their own right later on in the series. I don't want this list to be confused with side characters who were really the mains all along, picking up the slack when those ahead of them either died off or proved inadequate for the challenges they faced. Thus, Jon Snow doesn't count here, as A Song of Ice and Fire was truly about his overall arc and the arcs of the younger Stark siblings. Unlike how it initially seemed to be focusing on Robb Stark and Eddard Stark, who, for obvious reasons, were no longer in the later parts of the series. Whereas Samwise Gamgee was a breakout side character. He was the true MVP of the Fellowship meant to destroy the One Ring. He saved the ring bearer Frodo from countless traps, bore the One Ring briefly, and physically carried Frodo, only to watch him fail at the finish line. Samwise Gamgee, you get your own personal shout-out and gold star for being a standout side character, which on this podcast means, nothing. You embody every one of the following types of side characters who add more to someone else's story. In fact, you embody the list so well that you are exclusively removed from it. With that bonus awarding out of the way, here are my 9 favorite types of side characters. Number 1, characters with fanfare entrances. These side characters aren't love interests or wise mentors, yet they get an entrance that tells you everything you need to know about them. This single moment will embody their personality and unique physical traits in a memorable manner. In Star Wars: A New Hope, I would argue that Han Solo is merely a side character. He helps get the main character Luke to Leia and helps defend Luke at the end of the movie, but ultimately I feel like he could have been entirely replaced with just Chewbacca. However, Han's entrance is so ingrained in that character and the Star Wars universe as a whole that he ascends to fan favorite and main character status later on. Note that altering this moment lessens it, and by association, waters down Han Solo. Han is a lovable rogue, but he is also willing to proactively murder a bounty hunter sent to capture him by shooting first. Han doesn't wait for Greedo to somehow miss at point blank range to return fire. Later in Empire Strikes Back, where I'll promote Han to main character, his dinner plans get interrupted by Darth Vader. Rather than roar or be too shocked to react, Han instinctively draws his blaster and fires on the most powerful Sith in the galaxy. This directly echoes his fanfare entrance. If you want to be a purist and stick with Chewbacca as the true sidekick and not Han Solo, Chewbacca also had a quality entrance near enough to his introduction that I will count it here. C-3PO's "Let the Wookiee Win" is one of the more memorable quotes within A New Hope, shortly after "May the Force be with you." C-3PO said this while Chewie made a confident pose as Han explained that Wookiees tend to dismember their opponents if they lose. Number 2. Side characters who evolve alongside or surpass the main character. Bear with me as I milk the Harry Dresden Files yet again with the medical examiner Butters. He started as a shy, nerdy morgue worker, vastly out of his depth within the Harry Dresden realms and the associated collateral damage. Though Butters' polka papa introduction was a textbook fanfare entrance, I held him back as an example for number 2. Over the course of multiple novels, Butters has ascended with every challenge until he's able to fight alongside Harry Dresden in battle on even footing. Not only that, but Butters has surpassed Harry socially by having a life outside of work. And he also managed the magical support network when Harry failed to do so. Watching Butters perform a level up is one of the highlights of this ongoing series. Number 3. Side characters with much more interesting stories than the main plot. This is when the B storyline has more pull than whatever the main character is doing. Oh, the main character is at a banquet maneuvering the political machinations of a country? Yeah, I can see how that's important. Yet I am biting my nails reading about the side character swindling information from a seedy source, all in service of the main character's needs. Considering the side characters have thinner plot armor than the mains, these moments actually make their lives feel at stake, adding to the tension. Extra points in the side character's favor if a dagger is literally pressed to their back throughout the scene, informing us of the not-so-subtle, ever-present danger. Number 4. Side characters who do more than the main. Does anybody else want to read the Harry Potter series as told from Hermione's point of view? Without her, Harry never would have survived his first year, let alone any year at Hogwarts. He may have been the boy who lived, but he would have died countless times without his metaphorical shield and Swiss Army knife that is Hermione. She frequently armed Harry with the knowledge he needed to win and set up the scenarios for him to do so. Here are some of Hermione's greatest hits: forming Dumbledore's army using her time turner to save 2 innocent lives, providing the expandable tent, and flawless camouflage spells used to hide from Death Eaters. Even petrified, Hermione did more than Harry. In the second novel, Harry could have figured out the monster's secret months earlier had he have paid closer attention to the immobile Hermione. Time and again, Hermione's planning and sharp wit save the trio, and thus the greater wizarding world. In other words, here is another example where a main character would have been utterly lost if not for their strong supporting cast. Number 5. Villains who join the main character's forces. These villains have their own reasons for supporting the main character, and only so long as their goals are aligned. Will this lead to some betrayal down the road? Almost certainly, and in the meantime, I want to feed on all that drama. Here are 3 lightning round villains, or at least anti-heroes, who team up with the main characters. In John Peele's Diadem series, the sorceress Shannara has a bad reputation as being evil or at least mischievous. She proves to be an essential side character and partner to Score, Helene, and Pixel after repeatedly having them prove their merits through their choices and actions. In Dragon Ball Z, to defeat the galactic threat that is Frieza, Vegeta teamed up with the other Z fighters. This is after he fought and killed several of them. Now that I think about it though, any villain who was left alive usually has a tendency to return as a side character for good. Lastly, in the X-Men universe, as a favor to Charles Xavier, Magneto takes over as headmaster to look after the New Mutants. He acts as a gruff yet supportive mentor in the adventures of these New Mutants. Number 6. Complementary side characters. One has brains to match the other's brawn, or vice versa. This is Vezek from The Princess Bride in direct support of Wesley. When they're storming the castle, one of the few assets they list off is Vezek's strength, as well as Wesley's wits. Instead of such complementary side characters, imagine how different the movie would have been if Wesley had teamed up with Vizzini to storm the castle. The two brains would have been duking it out and trying to outdo the other, and probably would have wound up dead. Number 7, The Wizard of Oz. They're the ones behind the curtain. They're the guiding force and intellect behind the main character's hammer approach, where every problem is a nail. It falls on this side character to make the key observation, solve the cryptic puzzle, or have some understanding of the world which the main character lacks. This is the Barbara Gordon as Oracle to Batman, or Genki to Miles Morales' Spider-Man. They tell the superhero from afar what to do and where to go. The best side characters get their own banter to match with the main characters, and often get in the final word before the superhero needs to punch in some faces. Number 8, The Chosen One Isn't Chosen. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a novel that did this well without broadcasting or foreshadowing exactly what was going to happen. So this will be a Running to Write exclusive idea. Feel free to use it at your own risk. Let me know in the comments below whether I missed a great example that just I forgot. This type of side character is following around a chosen one. All signs indicate that the main character is the one to fulfill some prophecy. But in the final moments, it's the side character who saves the day. Usually when I read these stories, they're told from the supposed sidekick's point of view, as they fulfill the various foretold pieces within the prophecy, and thus prove that they are in fact the main character and hero. Here I'm talking about an instance where we are following around some main character, and those around them are foretelling of these great deeds they're to perform. After following the main character, we come to realize that the prophecy is false, and the bumbling sidekick is really the one to defeat the villain and free the land. Thus, we are left with a disillusioned main character who needs to cope with their shattered beliefs. Seems pretty interesting and trope-breaking to me. I hate that I'm doing this, but here's the obvious number 9. The comic relief or emotional heart. These side characters bring heaps of entertainment to annoy the otherwise dull or stoic mains. In Wreck-It Ralph, Sarah Silverman's Vanellope von Schweetz acts as a goofy personality to John C. Reilly's Grumpy Ralph. Thus, when Ralph starts naturally opening up across the course of the movie, it hits a much more emotional peak as he starts taking on the traits of his sidekick Vanellope. For the few of you out there who saw the movie Eurotrip, what, if anything, do you remember from it? One of the moments in this highly underrated comedy is that the main character Scotty is predictable, i.e. boring. It takes the not so gentle prodding of his best friend to kick off their international trip and get the movie moving. The funniest lines weren't said by Scotty and often didn't involve him. For those of you who remember Eurotrip, I'm curious to know what your favorite quotes were, so post them in the comments below. I'm willing to bet that the first thing you remember isn't a Scotty moment, but rather one of his side character friends, or the surprisingly incredible cameos. There you have my 9 favorite types of side characters. Let me know who is your favorite side character, or who would you want most to have in your life today. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a like, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so that you'll be informed when the latest videos are available. Join the Running to Write community on Facebook and Twitter to share your thoughts. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. See you next time. Until then, raise up those side characters. They deserve much more credit for dragging these so-called true heroes through their misadventures.